everybody. Welcome back to the Pylon Show. This is episode number 108. And we are having... I don't know how to intro the show because every episode I'm excited about, genuinely, or I wouldn't do the show. So every episode I'm like, this is going to be a great show. And it's like the same thing every time. But the show is very different every time, and they're all great. God damn. Good job, Artosis. Listen, this is going to be a very fun episode because it's like kind of a crossover episode in a way. We're getting a little bit more creative with the Pylon Show and what we're going to be talking about. And I have some excellent guests here. First, though, let me just mention, check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/ThePylonShow. That is how we fund this show. And that's how you can ask questions. And you're going to want to ask questions this week. So check it out. Patreon.com/ThePylonShow. Yeah. Okay. There you go. I guess that's our sponsors. You guys. All right. So this episode is about speedrunning, kind of in general, like an introduction to speedrunning for people, but then also StarCraft speedrunning because that exists. And we have some world record holders here. In fact, all 3 world record holders. You may recognize this one guy right here, which I was just talking to him before we started. It's really weird that 108 episodes in, the like 20-time Australian champion. This is the first time he's on the show. I have Australians on the show all the time, but never Probe. I don't know why. I don't know why I do what I do, but Probe, welcome to the show. I guess.
Hello. Welcome. Hello. Yes. Thank you.
How
for
are you
having
doing?
Me. I'm doing wonderful.
Yeah.
Down here in Melbourne, Australia. I see that I'm actually in Sydney on the green screen. I'm very disappointed. So, I'm actually from Melbourne.
More than one city?
I take great offense to being put in Sydney. Okay.
No. I've been to Australia. That's what it looks like.
No. You've got it all wrong. That's where we send like uncool people. Okay. I'm from the hipster part. The lockdown part. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You're from the part that Moonglade's from?
No. He's from a different part. A hotter part. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, sorry. Anyways, well, I'm glad that you're finally on the show. Welcome. It's going to be fun to have you here. You're kind of like a bridge between pro gaming and speedrunning, being a pro gamer and a speedrunner at this point. So kind of cool to have you with these guys. We also have a Giant Grant Games. Grant, welcome to the show. Can you tell people a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on, Artosis. I am Giant Grant Games. You probably will recognize me from the guy with the clickbait thumbnails on YouTube that keeps trying to get you to watch his Deathless videos.
You're the Deathless video guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
wait, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't. No, I was looking through the speedrun thing, and I was like, whoa, this guy's fucking good. Like, look at this. I got to get this guy on the show. You're the Deathless guy.
Yeah.
There's been so many videos lately.
Yeah, basically. I kind of just shot up at the beginning of this summer, made some videos, and they're in everybody's feed now, and if people are really annoyed with me, I'm going to keep doing it.
That's excellent. Damn, I did. Wow. I just fall into lucky shit all the time. That's great. Okay. But you do have a world record in speedrunning, right?
Yes, I have the Nova Covert Ops world record, and then I'm 2nd place in Legacy of the Void and Heart of the Swarm Probe, and 3rd place in Wings of Liberty.
That is super sick. By the way, Probe, do you have a world record right now? Right?
Yes, I am 1st in Heart of the Swarm and 2nd in Wings of Liberty.
For now.
Sick.
1st in Legacy of the Void.
Excellent. And then we have Zosty, a very famous speedrunner himself. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Zosty?
Sure. Yeah, I'm mostly known for Super Metroid speedrunning. I've done like 7 AGDQs. I've had the record in Super Metroid, many different categories, many different times. And I actually had the StarCraft 1 first Terran campaign record at some point until some actual RTS players came and swept it out from me. So, but, you know.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, I mean, I want to know how you guys got into speedrunning, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more deeply about exactly what speedrunning is and the way that it's talked about. Because, like, I watch Amazing Games Done Quick, and, you know, I tune into some speedrun streams from time to time. And the lingo can be a little bit difficult for people to understand, I guess. Let's do some of the lingo first. Like, what is speedrunning? You know, you hear things like any percent, 100%, low percent, you know, glitches, randomizers, things like this. And I don't even know what all of it means. And I've actually watched a decent amount. So can you guys just kind of explain what speedrunning is all about?
I can explain some of the lingo real quick. Any
Sure.
percent would be like getting as many items as you want to, but you're going to try to, you only get the ones that make you go faster. That's what any percent is. You get any percent of the items. And this can change between different games. So I'm speaking more for Super Metroid, but that's a pretty common one across speed gaming. 100% is some sort of completionist category. It can be defined differently for different games. And low percent is getting the fewest amount of items. It's more of a challenge category. You get the fewest amount. I'd say those are the three biggest ones, but there can be a lot of extra ones depending on the game, or maybe they don't have all that. It just depends.
Yeah,
and
like for StarCraft, the majority of them are just like any percents. Like there are some like niche challenge ones, like the Deathless one or the No Unit one. Like some people have done speedruns of those categories, which is pretty nuts. But yeah, most of them are just any percent, so it's completing the game as quickly as you can, really. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So can you guys explain how you got into speedrunning? Because it I don't know, it just seems a little like the thing is, I think speedrunning actually has existed for a very long time. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when I first was getting on the internet, I was finding these cool websites where I remember this one guy, I think his ID was 2Gam, and he was doing like Zelda without a sword and stuff like really quickly. And I was like, what the hell am I even looking at here? But like, how did you find this kind of niche thing that's kind of like esports, but not exactly? Not, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it because it's such a different thing than what I do all day. But Zosti, how did you get into speedrunning?
I first heard about speedrunning through a website called Speed Demos Archives, and they're the people who ended up doing GDQ. So that's where they started. They used to host speedruns on their website, and it was usually the best run of the game, but people had to submit them. That was back when there was like VHS and stuff. People would submit in stuff like that. But speedrun has been around a little longer than that. That was like mid 2000s when I heard about it, 2000 aughts. But I think it's existed since like early FPS, like Doom demos and stuff like that, and Quake demos, like where you can record the replay of it or whatever, and then you could host it on a message board or something like that back in the old days. I think that's where it kind of started.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So when you got into it, like you do a lot of Super Metroid, how do you choose something like what you want to play and whatnot?
That's just a personal thing, really. I mean, just whatever catches your eye, whatever you think looks fun, or maybe what you have nostalgia for. I didn't really play Super Metroid as a kid, but I saw a speedrun of it at the right time, and I thought it looked so cool. And I was like, I just started learning a little bit at a time, and one thing turned into another kind of thing.
Okay. And Grant, how did you get into speedrunning?
So I could, lie and say that it was like I was just inspired in the night or something like that. But for me, it was a fairly tactical business decision.
Okay.
It's going to be a rant, kind of. It'll take like a minute and a half, but I promise it'll come back to answer your question. But I think
TalkShow has gone up to 6 hours at a time before, so just do whatever you want.
So I think that one of the big challenges that StarCraft 2 currently faces is that there is a huge divide between the casual and competitive player bases. Historically, there's been a lack of a natural progression for the people that play campaign and co-op to get into competitive StarCraft. And I think it's difficult. We kind of expect people to just naturally make that jump. And for a lot of them, it just doesn't work. They don't know the language. They don't know the strategies, the nuances. And we just throw people into like procasts and say, hey, go watch this game. You'll enjoy it. And it gets confusing and overwhelming. So last June, I decided, around the time that my YouTube channel started blowing up, I decided that my focus would be on bridging that gap. My goal for creating speedrun content is that new players could hop into my stream, hop into my YouTube, and see a StarCraft experience that looks a lot like their own. But at the same time, it has a competitive twist to it, has high-level execution twist to it. And they would be able to, through that conduit, start learning about the competitive aspects of StarCraft And hopefully that would make their jump later into competitive StarCraft maybe a little bit easier. Because I freaking love StarCraft. It has been my life for 10 years now, and I really, really want it to continue to grow. And I really think there's very few people that are trying to focus on bringing the new people in. There's a ton of incredible people that are keeping the established people watching because they're very good at what they do. I kind of felt like that would be my niche, and StarCraft or speedrunning is part of that.
Oh, that's a very interesting kind of idea and approach to why you would start speedrunning, and it feels actually almost like the opposite of Probe's path, who's a pro gamer who now has started speedrunning. How did you get into that, Probe?
I think I was like depressed at some point, and I was like sleeping 12 hours a day, and I was just watching 8 like speedruns while I slept, and just like I was in bed 18 hours a day. For some, I can't remember why. And I saw a StarCraft one, I'm like, oh, okay. And I hated StarCraft at the time as well. Like I did not like playing 1v1. So I'm like, okay, this will give me something to do. Some reason to start streaming it or something like this. And then I like watched it, I'm like, damn, this is really cool. It's like really cool strategies, and the execution is actually, I mean, it's pretty tough, honestly. It can actually be very, very tough to get as quick as possible. So from that like competitive nature of always like refining myself, I found it very it gave me a lot of satisfaction to improve over time. So that's like how I got into it. And then I like felt a lot better because I achieved something with my life, you know. And then like moved on to Hard the Swarm and all that other kind of stuff. So yeah.
Huh. All right. Kind of interesting, guys, all getting into it in completely different ways for completely different reasons. I guess that's the story of esports for a lot of people as well. How do you? Okay, so that's how you guys got in, and we kind of talked about the lingo a little bit. But I want to talk about how to approach speedrunning if you want to get into this and get good at it, because it seems really hard to get into. Because like for instance, I have watched a decent amount of your Super Metroid stuff at this point, Zosi, like just watching you grind through where it's like Samus is jumping like this, and then you get to the end and bam, restart, jump, restart. And I'm like, how long does he do this for? This is crazy. So, how do you approach just like practicing for a speedrun in general, Zosi? How do you do this?
It depends on kind of what stage you are in that particular run. Like if you're just getting into a run again or for the first time, I think practice pays off a lot more. It's like I like to compare it to learning piano or something. It can be daunting at first to see somebody sight read a piece of music, but you got to start somewhere with Mary Had a Little Lamb or whatever. You know, you have to start and just keep refining and building on something. You got to trust that if you roll that, you know, the boulder up the hill, each inch is going to get you towards the top of the hill or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
It's
yeah, go ahead.
It's actually very, very similar to getting into 1v1 for StarCraft. Where you watch these pro gamers, they're doing all these crazy things. You're like, I'm never going to get there. I can never do this kind of stuff. And you sort of, that's so long ago that I got involved. I kind of remember how I got involved in 1v1 and whatnot. So to give advice onto speedrunning, it's very tough for me because I already did that. But you just sort of chuck yourself in and have fun, do whatever you can, try and just finish a run, reset as much as you like, just get a score up on the board a time.
Okay.
Okay, just do something. And that's a huge accomplishment. And then you can just slowly work that down. And you have to enjoy what you do as well. But just with that initial process, that's like really most important, I think.
Okay. So you start with like completing the game. Like if I were to sit down on StarCraft or Super Metroid, like I would just beat it and be like, okay, it took me 3 hours, like, you know, and be like, okay, well, let me look up the world records. Okay, I quit. No, I'm never going to. I am never going to be able to do.
And you just look at each mission, and it's for StarCraft, it's very separate. They're all split. You can practice a section very easily.
Yeah.
And slowly just get better at each one. Learn a few of the strats as you go. So that's like the main thing.
I think one of the best things about I'm so sorry. One of the best things about speedrunning is that plagiarism is incredibly okay. So you can just steal what everybody else does, right? That you don't have to, when you're getting into speedrunning, figure out how to speedrun. You just have to go watch Probe's YouTube video on how he has a good Wings of Liberty run, open up a Google Doc, write a couple things down, and give it your best approximation. Probe is absolutely correct that doing anything is the best way to do it. I bet we all had absolutely abysmal times in our first times ever speedrunning stuff. And we all have world records here. And it's just like when you drop into 1v1, you're probably going to be Bronze League if you've never played an RTS before. That doesn't mean you're never going to be GM.
Yeah.
Well, statistically speaking, but
oh, you're
I don't know. I checked the StarCraft Reddit. There's plenty of people that are just getting GM now. So eventually, watching some of these speedrun things, right? Like for instance, the resets that you do, Zosia, in it. It feels like I'm just watching like very deliberate practice, where it almost like is a bit inspiring, because I think within StarCraft, a lot of people like to get better. They just keep playing ladder games. And it's really hard to take all the different information from, you're playing on the ladder against many different opponents on many different maps in many different matchups, having many different games. And it's hard to kind of bring that all to one point and learn from it. But then when I watch people practicing for speed runs and I see you reset 30 times in a row in the same fucking room trying to jump over this same little bat thing over the lava or something like that, right? That's like, oh, this is such a smarter way to practice in a way.
Yeah. It'd be like practicing a build over and over again, or like looking into a build order, like would be something like trying to figure out a better strategy for a room, or figuring out a better way to like rally your units, would be similar to like figuring out a better way to control your game in a certain area of the game. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of, you have to be introspective and figure out what you're doing wrong, and kind of slow down and look at it. And if you don't do that, you'll just keep making the same mistakes over and over again, I feel, in speedrunning, at least.
For sure. Well, I think that this actually just kind of broadens out into, like, in the really big picture, everything in life, but like in the smaller, we're on the ThePylonShow picture, StarCraft play, where it's been making me think, because I read a lot about things like deliberate practice, but it's hard to apply that, right, when you're playing on ladder and things like that. But then when I see all these resets, like, guys, when you're doing like a StarCraft mission, you're trying to get your time down on it. Are you playing a very small portion of the mission? Are you doing the whole mission each time? Like, how do you pull that apart? Like, do you have the same type of way to save and reset, like in Super Metroid, where you can just like go bam, okay, back here, bam, back here, that type of thing, or is it different?
I know in StarCraft 1 you should be able to load a save from the single player. If you have the like a part of the mission that's really hard that you want to practice over and over again, you can set up like a state for that.
Actually, yeah, you definitely can do that in StarCraft 1. I don't really play StarCraft 2 single player.
You can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has the same type of thing that you can just load real quick. Is that how you approach it as well? Or like, are you doing a piece of the mission that you jump back to save?
Because, for example, some missions are like 2 minutes long, so you just do the entire thing.
Sure.
Some are multi-section missions, so you don't want to, especially when you're practicing, you don't want to do the entire thing. Like, there's like the mission in Legacy of the Void where you're, some of the heroes for like the first 4 minutes, then the next 4 minutes another set of heroes, another 4 minutes, and so you'd reset at the start of each one of those to, push down all the times. And if there is like a specific point, you can do a quick save and practice that. But I think like most missions, if you want to practice individual missions, they're pretty short and easily resettable. And StarCraft isn't that refined to the point where you need to be perfect. So you have a bit more variation there to just practice the entire thing.
Okay.
Yeah, part of it is that in StarCraft, the longer missions tend to be the ones that you can skip in practice, because often, I mean, things cascade a lot in StarCraft, right? Even in 1v1, your opening is the most important part and changes a lot. It's your speed of build-up based off of that. In a speed run, because you're only going for like a couple minutes, I would say that the large majority of things are just that initial 30 seconds in a mission. I don't know if Pro would agree with that, but most missions, you really can hit that 30 seconds, and then if you want to do that execution for the end, you can get it. But for the most part, you can try that over and over again.
Dude, Legacy of the Void, it's literally the first 30 seconds, warp in 4 DTs, and then you send them to each corner of the map. And then once you've done that, you're like, okay, I'm good.
I hate that speedrun, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're doing it. It's so dumb.
Oh, it hurts my brain. It's the worst. It's the hardest. But
could you explain? I'm really not sure what you're talking about here.
Okay. So Wings of Liberty is a good speedrun. You know, lots of variation in units and strategies that you use. Heart of the Swarm. Kerrigan does everything. She is overpowered. Okay, so very linear in that sense. Legs of the Void doesn't have Kerrigan, but you have DTs. So a shittier, more easily killable unit is doing all the missions. So it's way more fragile, whereas in Heart of the Swarm you have Kerrigan, she can heal, she has a lot more HP. DTs, you know, they're like glass, right? So it's so easy to lose missions, and it's just like sending out 4 DTs to each corner of the map to do all the objectives at once. If that makes sense.
Oh. So you're just using invisible men to win every map in Legacy of the Void.
Dude, the StarCraft campaign is not well designed to deal with detection. like the final mission of Heart of the Swarm, you just run in there, you kill a turret, and Kerrigan just burrows and just pops up, pew, burrows, pops up, pew, burrows, pew, and then the last mission's dead. A 25-minute mission is done in 2 minutes because they were missing a missile turret.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, well, I don't think that they designed these. They didn't design these with speedrunning in mind. No. I guess no game really would it? All right. What? This is actually something that you brought up in our like pre-chat, Zosti, that I wanted to hit upon. Parallels between RTS and speedrunning. Could you elaborate on this a little bit?
I already went into it a little bit with like the practice aspect. I think, I think resetting rallies in StarCraft 1 really reminds me of something that you could do on your own, and it could really benefit you in a match. So stuff like that, I would say is similar to practice. But if you get into like tournament play where you're racing speedruns, like when you're in early stages of a tournament and your seed's high and another seed's low, you might want to take a different route. You know, a safer route through the game.
Oh,
and that could
like
be
not try to do
like,
a jump that could like hurt you or something, or send you way back.
Something risky, yeah. You could avoid something risky to get you killed or something like that. I could think of that sort of like a parallel to if like Light was doing a qualifier, he probably wouldn't want a 14cc or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So stuff like that. You get into like randomizers and whether it's like randomness to where everything is, it's sort of similar to you can like mind game your opponent to where if they're predictable in the way they route a randomizer, like somebody that's not as good could do a riskier route, which like it wouldn't be as consistent. But if they got really lucky and found an item that was really important, then it could pay off and they could beat somebody better than them. Those are some of the parallels I was thinking of. The practice one was big. I know for StarCraft 1, mechanics is huge, and I know for my game, even though it's a console game, it's like the way you control it is pretty intense. So you really need to focus a lot on that if you want to get really good. Of course, you can be as casual as you want to in speedrun. You can participate, you can race with people. You don't have to like go for the world record. Yeah, that's kind of one thing. Sorry. I was gonna say that's one of the things I was thinking about earlier when Giant Grant Games was talking. Is like you can do community races and stuff, and you can beat people way better than you because a lot of times, like in my game, I'll die in some of my races, and so people, you know, you'll beat half the people because half the people will die in a race.
So just playing carefully might be the turtle in the hair type thing.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay. Yeah. Would you guys agree with that about the aspects that kind of make it similar, like strategically speaking, how you approach things, or is StarCraft more like not like competitive speedrunning? I don't know how to word this correctly. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
StarCraft, like you don't normally go up against somebody at the same time, right? It's not like a tournament speedrun. It's more like you sit down and you try to do it. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm
Just
ignorant
grab
on
one
speedruns,
thing.
guys, so I'm actually asking these questions. I'm not trying to lead you.
Grant can say anything he wants.
I'm trying to think of what exactly
Okay.
was the question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, like the idea of first off, the little piece would be: is StarCraft something that's done like competitively for speedruns? Like, are there tournament style StarCraft speedruns like we were just talking about with Super Metroid, or is it more like you're always going to cut the time as best as possible?
Well, the StarCraft speedrunning scene is really me and Probe.
No, there's
Okay.
There's
wait,
ZPR.
wait. There's ZPR, there's
ZPR.
Freezard, there's Bloody. There's quite a few people. There is a Discord for this, by the way.
Oh yeah, I should join that.
There's quite a few. But yes, it's more the latter. So for example, the Wings of Liberty
Mhm.
one, when I decided to pick it up, the time was like 1:56 or something like this. Set by ZPR, something like this. So, okay, I went and beat that. And then he beat it back a couple of days later. Then I beat it again. And he beat it again. And we went
Yeah.
back and forth across a month. And we got down to like 1:37 or something like this. In-game time, something like this. So yeah, it was more like we just keep cutting it down, competing against each other for the world record until eventually we like get to a point. It got to a point where I'm like, man, to beat this guy's run, either something has to be discovered new, or I just need to get the perfect run. And so I'm like, okay, time to move to Heart of the Swarm. So yeah, it's definitely more the latter where you're just cutting down on times. The size of the StarCraft speedrunning scene is definitely not big enough to have tournaments.
Sure.
But it would be great if more people got involved, more people did it. I don't think you should be scared. Anybody should be scared mechanically about it. I think actually mechanically it's quite straightforward. Like you won't pick it up straight away or anything like this, or you might be slower than myself picking it up, right? Because I had that pro gamer experience. But you can always still get to the exact same point where I'm at, just with practice. So it'd be great if more people played.
That's actually kind of interesting. How good do you guys think you have to be to challenge for like a speed run within StarCraft 2? Because
You just have to have
you guys all
dedication.
strike me as players that could be very good. Like just for instance, Zosi, I know you don't play StarCraft 2, but like just watching you, the way that you practice Metroid and the complexity of the jumps and stuff, I'm like, oh, he could be a very good, a good player. Grant, I'm not sure how good you're. Obviously, you're a pro gamer, but how good do you actually have to be to do these StarCraft speedruns? Like, do you need a certain, like, what's the amount of APM that's kind of like, okay, you need to have this much APM to play to have a chance at the world record?
So I think the answer depends on what you consider being able to do the speedrun, because if you look at the list of scores on speedrun.com, some of them are pretty bad, and you could definitely beat those people. If you wanted to, say, get into top 3, you probably got to be Grandmaster, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know how good ZPR is, but
Masters.
yeah, so at least Masters, probably Grandmaster.
Okay.
But that's simply because the competition is there. But say you want to get top 10 in Wings of Liberty, probably low masters or even diamond, assuming you're willing to sit down and practice it a ton. You would definitely be able to make it work.
I think you could be diamond and get it.
I don't actually know how good a diamond player is.
Diamond players they're pretty reasonable.
Okay.
As I learned from chat roulette. Whatever that was called. I can't remember. Rank
video,
roulette.
by
That's
the way.
what
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
pretty all right. Okay. The speedrunning scene in general, it's like it feels like it's an esport in a way. Like the thing is, amazing games done quick. Those types of situations, when those come on, everyone's watching. It's just like it's super exciting. Everyone comes together. It's like it. Some aspects of it can feel competitive. Sometimes you'll watch and it'll be one of those tournament type things, or before people playing the same game at the same time. You see someone fall in a pit and it's really sad or whatever. But then there's also ones where everyone's just excited to sit down and watch. Like, okay, this guy's the best at this. Let's see if he can get a world record right now. So there's definitely esports aspects to it, but it's not exactly, but it almost feels like it is, because all these are like basically pro gamer level players for their games, but maybe it's not a head-to-head game. So yeah, I'd like to just kind of discuss that. I guess I don't have an exact question about it, but I mean, Grant, you were mentioning before the show, like, how can speedrunning learn from esports, and maybe even vice versa in a way?
Yeah, that was really, I didn't have like an answer when I asked that question. I was
Yeah.
legitimately asking. I was not, I mean, you are the expert here on the development of esports, and you've seen the worst things happen and the best things happen. And speedrunning really, I said this in the pre-chat, it feels a lot like esports did in the non-Korean scene 10 years ago, where nobody knew what was going on, but everyone was pretty sure there was something there. And there was like this rush to, how do you monetize this? What do you do with it? Speedrunning is a little bit different though, right? Because you can't, the tournament structure for something like StarCraft is very obvious. We've been doing it for literally thousands of years. This is just what you do. But speedrunning kind of works more under the festival structure, if that makes sense, where everyone gets together and has a party, and there's a lot of speedrunning goes there. So what do we do in the future? Because you can't just have, like, you can have an esports event every weekend. For some games, that's very sustainable. But for something like speedrunning, you can't have a festival every weekend. People will get tired of it. What are the other ways that speedrunning could be done to bring exposure, bring views? Because the views are there. We know the views are there. We see AGDQ. Look at the money that frickin' thing brings in every single time it happens.
Yeah.
It feels like a very big untapped potential, and I have no answers, but I'd be interested in hearing other people's.
That's an interesting question. Go ahead, Zosi.
There have been, I think there's been people trying to do stuff that you're kind of talking about. Like, I don't know how many people are familiar with the speed gaming channels, but it's like a series of like 5 or 6 channels that's constantly hosting tournaments and races. They've been trying to do a live event every year where they have like prize pools and stuff. It's nothing huge, nothing on the level of, any of the RTSs or anything, but you're starting to see events like that pop up here and there. Nothing's like gotten huge or anything yet, but people are trying to do stuff like that where it's more like an esports feel to it.
When you actually do one of the speedrunning events, Zosti, is it like does it feel like Grant said, like more like a festival? Are the tournament portions of it taken like really seriously as a tournament? Like, what's your vibe on that?
Well, like GDQ doesn't really have tournaments. It'll have like a big race, but there's never like a tournament or anything. But the races, I mean, people practice really hard for their runs. Any run, even if it's not a race. But yeah, the races can be very. I get really nervous before doing one of those because there's like 150,000 viewers. So like, even the first one I did, there was 40,000, and I was like so nervous. Every time I get super nervous, and yeah, the races are very nerve-wracking for sure. But any run there is really.
Yeah,
But it is kind of like a
definitely.
big party, like you said. Like people are hanging out and chilling together. I guess that's the same with any sort of thing. But
Honestly, now that you bring up the festival feel and like the chilling about it, that actually makes me kind of think, right? Because the question, I guess, was originally posed as like, what can uh, these speedrun things learn from esports? But honestly, like you can look at it the other way too. When when StarCraft Remastered first came out, and we were doing those, there was a few events that we did where it was like myself and Controlled, Day 9, and Tasteless, and those were more festival feels, right? Where like, yeah, there was a tournament going on, but no one really cared about the tournament that much. It was more about having fun and enjoying the game. And it almost in a way felt more like the speedrunning atmosphere that you'll see at some of these games done quick things. And I mean, they did very well, right? And it was kind of refreshing to not just have like the best players in the world are fighting it out for this, like, you know, and it's like $100,000 on the line. I mean, that stuff's great too. I love esports. Obviously, I've based my life around it, but it's almost more refreshing to have it the other way, where it's like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
In speedrunning, there's kind of a weird thing too, that where in the past there's been sort of a resistance to monetizing it from the player base. And that's kind of changed over the years as people have become successful Twitch streamers and stuff. The attitudes change, but that may have held it back a little bit for a while. Sort of an interesting aspect of it. It kind of almost was taboo to monetize your stream. Speedrunning, like for a while, it was kind of like that.
That kind of reminds me of FGC a little bit. Remember when I don't know if you guys paid attention. They're like, we're not esports. It's like, guys, your top players would like to make money doing this. Seriously, trust me.
It actually definitely has a more FGC feel about it, I think. And the big thing with that is they have people who play the game. Like they just get people involved. Everyone comes together, regardless of how good or bad you are. You just sign up, you just play and do all this kind of stuff. So if you want to do anything like that with StarCraft, you just need more people to actually want to do the speedruns, get involved and all this kind of stuff. Like there's plenty of games out there being speedrun, but there's not like competitive tournaments for every game out there. It's the ones that are popular with the active players who I guess got involved and then the system was built around them. Who enjoy those benefits. So for me, the first bit is more people just have to get involved in StarCraft speedrunning.
Actually, does StarCraft show up very often at those? Because I only caught it, I think, one time at a Games Done Quick type event where, if I recall correctly, it was like Railkun that was doing a speedrun. And I mean, I don't watch like when Games Done Quick is on, I don't watch it like the entire time. So I'm sure I could have missed it, but does StarCraft appear often at those?
I think Brood War was this year or last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a big problem in the large events with StarCraft 2 speedrunning, and I think one of the reasons that my videos have been fairly popular is because I edit this part down. Those damn 30-minute defense missions that are at the end of every, like, it is the most anticlimactic ending to anything when you just sit around for 30 minutes doing nothing. You already know what your time is, but you have to pretend like you're surprised and you don't know in order to make the audience feel it. And it takes, was it 30 minutes and 8 seconds every single time? And you're just like, okay. And then the only one that isn't like that, which is Heart of the Swarm, as Pro was saying earlier, you cheese it. There is not a good dramatic conclusion to StarCraft speedrunning. At least StarCraft 2 speedrunning.
I don't mind the cheese one, but
no,
yeah,
I agree. That's the best one.
Every campaign has missions that you can't speed up. So Wings of Liberty, there is one. The third mission, you can go AFK for 20 minutes. You can't lose the mission, but you can't speed it up. Okay, so and then the very last mission is also 30 minutes. And then there's a mission in the middle, the train mission, where you have to actually be there and do stuff, but it's also on rails. And the only way you can speed it up is by putting it to a higher difficulty so the trains spawn faster. And that cuts down like 5 minutes or something like this.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's how we did that to get around that stupid thing, right? But yeah, there you go, Wings of Liberty. An hour of the run is auto-scrolling.
Probe, I just wanted you to know that I appreciated your on-rails pun for the train mission.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you know.
I really like it.
Yeah.
That's funny, though. Well, the timed missions, then, are you saying that I can tie for the world record on those?
You could get the world record on those, yes.
Damn, all right. I'm a world record holder as well.
That's every single campaign. So if you want to go to any of those GDQ events, well, you got to fill for an hour, 30 minutes.
I don't think there's a single StarCraft campaign that doesn't have one of those. Is there? I don't remember the StarCraft 1 campaigns as well, but I think that literally every single
they all have. I think they all probably have one. They probably Blizzard, when they make these games, they're like, you know what's really fun? trying to stay alive.
I mean, thematically, they're pretty good. I don't mind them thematically. Like the Legacy of the Void one, where the Zerg is swarming the planet, and then you can choose to go for longer if you want. That's a cool mission, I think. But it's also just piss easy, and you just have to sit there for 10 minutes.
Well, when you're... Oh, sorry. When you're terrible, some of these can be fun. Like, I remember the first time I played the Stay Alive for 20 minutes one at the beginning of Brood War for Terran. I had like a floating burning building at the end. And I was like, whoa, the dropships are here. I made it. And then when I replayed it, once I became a good player, I just attack moved and killed the Zerg on the map and sat there for 20 minutes. What were you saying, Grant?
Oh, I was going to ask, Probe, I don't watch too many. I mean, I skip through your speedruns, but I always skip the timed parts because I want to do your strats.
Yeah.
And when you're streaming them, do you get really weird during the really long ones? Because I always end up talking about something really weird, like aerosol cheese or something.
I know. In my one, I was like trying to curse the mission, you know. So I'll say something really dumb. So this run will be the one where I get the world record, you know, and then it'll be forever enshrined. So I made some joke where I'm like, I bet you if you guys watch this back, I'm such an incel and all this kind of stuff. Like I said dumb shit like this, and I gave a whole like background story, and completely joking, but like now it's forever enshrined. Oh, that's right. It's because my YouTube channel has 0% female viewership. It's 100% male viewership. So I was like, no woman will ever love me. And that's forever enshrined in my Heart of the Swarm video because of those hold the line missions. So well, curse them.
I'll share my 1% female viewership with you.
Oh, thank you.
Between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, which one's more popular for speedrunning?
I would say 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like StarCraft 1, the first Terran mission for vanilla has quite a few runs. But you look at the Brood War missions, and there's like the 5th and 6th like campaign have like 1 run.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You could get the world record, Artie.
Making me want to get to make me want to do that. Damn. Get the Artosis name all over there.
You could.
And I can put that in my Twitter profile, world record speedrun holder for StarCraft 1. Hey, maybe.
That's the reason I got the world record for the first campaign, is because when I picked it up, I looked at it and the existing run was really bad. And I was like, I could beat this. So I and then I attracted other people who were a lot better than me. So they would go over there, but yeah, I had fun with it.
I think specifically Wings of Liberty is the most played of all the speedruns. In fact, I would be as far to say Wings of Liberty is probably played more than all other StarCraft speedruns combined. That might be a little much, but everybody seems to run Wings.
In the past, it was definitely like that, but it actually has bled over to the other ones now. So, yeah.
I do have to say, so I beat Wings of Liberty single player, and I beat Heart of the Swarm single player, and I haven't gotten through Legacy yet. I'm not a big single player guy for StarCraft 2, but I did think that Wings of Liberty was the most fun one. I definitely liked it better than walking around with Kerrigan, like I'm a League of Legends player or some shit. I'm like, no, I liked Wings a bit more. Maybe that has
Legacy is good though. Legacy's really awesome. I really like Legacy of the Void.
I'm gonna beat it one day. I think for the 20th year anniversary of StarCraft 2, I'm gonna finish Legacy of the Void.
Didn't we just have the 10-year anniversary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, you know those new achievements they added? The 10-year anniversary achievements.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, that's right, because you can unlock... A
lot of them are based off the speedruns. So you would have to go up and look speedrun strats to get them.
Oh, that's sick. So that's actually like Blizzard with a big nod towards speedruns.
Yeah. So I think they actually put in a lot of work. And I know Monk is in the Discord, the speedrunning Discord, and sometimes talks to us.
Okay.
But yeah, so a lot of them are based off the speedruns, and if they're not, they're like some other stuff. But yeah, it's really cool. And actually, one of them discovered a new strategy in Wings of Liberty, which I will use at some point, and it like cuts it down by like a minute. So there you go.
What's the strat?
It was the one where the achievement was bugged. So it was impossible to get the achievement until somebody on Reddit found a perfect run to get it, and it was faster than the speedrun run. So, and it was abusing like timers and whatnot. So it's actually like really, really awesome. But yeah.
Cool. Zosi, in our pre-game chat, you mentioned untapped potential for StarCraft 1 speedrunning. Is that because not a lot of people are playing, or is there some other reason?
That's the main reason. I mean, if not many people are playing, then the strategies aren't developed. So there's a lot of stuff you could probably find out about the run. I don't know all the details, but it's just a sort of it's got to be obvious if one person's only done the run that there's a lot of untapped potential there for people to improve it. When I picked it up, one interesting thing was if I remember correctly, I think it was Firebat Hero who did some sort of casual speedrun of the first Terran campaign. So I actually picked up some strats from him, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was Firebat Hero, but I could be wrong about that.
It probably was. He actually makes a lot of different YouTube content. He's very creative in that way. Kind of fits. What is actually the official like website for this stuff? People want to check this out.
For like leaderboards?
Yeah, like if I want a world record in some weird mission within StarCraft 1, where do I actually go to check on this and like have it confirmed or whatever?
As far as I know, speedrun.com is a place for the leaderboards for StarCraft. They just got bought out by another company, so I don't know how that's going to work out in the long term. But for now, that's where you go probably.
Okay, and that's where you guys kind of base all your numbers off of.
Yeah, who's got the best times and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could like just look at existing runs and see what strategies there are, and you could play with it yourself and see if you can find better ways to do things, or just play it better, do the strategies better. Either way.
Yeah. Now, so like it's speedrunning. I find it to be. We've kind of talked about how it relates to esports and like how it's more of a festival feel and stuff. Do you guys see speedrunning games in general, and of course StarCraft as well, to be like a good content for like streaming and YouTube and stuff? Because it seems to me that anyone that's good at speedrunning gets a really decent amount of viewership on like Twitch and everything.
I feel like it varies wildly depending on the game.
Yeah,
there's people that are really good at some games, but they just don't get the attention. I think it's a really good streaming game. I know my game is like Super Metroid is a good streaming game because there's lots of little breaks. Like when you pick up an item, there's like 7 seconds where the fanfare plays and you're stuck still, and like every time you go through the door, there's 3 seconds. It's good to it's good for streaming because you can check on the chat, give yourself a little break. It doesn't wear out your hands crazy. Like the last times I've tried to play ladder StarCraft 1, it's just destroyed my right hand.
Of course,
I'm getting a little older, so but there's so much variation in the way you play the game I play that it's good that I can do it for a long period of time. There's these breaks where I can rechat and respond to people and stuff like that. But it varies wildly on the game whether it's going to be popular or not, and your personality, how you set up your stream, if you have webcam, mic, all that kind of stuff plays a part, of course.
It's funny that you have it nailed down so much. Like, oh yeah, I open a door and so I have 3 seconds to check the chat. And high quality streamer right there. What were you gonna say, Grant?
I think the two most important things, if you want to know if a thing's going to be popular, is one, having sweet tricks, right? That's the big one that gets you like the 5-second clip on YouTube that people are like, wow, that game is awesome. And B, nostalgia. Speedrun hits nostalgia hard. You can go back and see all of your favorite games from when you were a kid being absolutely demolished. And it's always a joy. I've never met a person that had a game they liked when they were like 8 that they hold a fond memory from that didn't see a speedrun and like have their mind blown.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful.
Yeah. It's the one type of link I will send my brother. Like, you see this? Like, he made Mario go like this while he went over a wall backwards. I don't even understand.
Yeah, the best for me is when somebody that really loves the game but hasn't seen this, like somebody's played a lot, but they're watching the speedrun for the first time. They're really excited. That's one of the best reactions that I like to see from somebody watching the run.
Yeah. Um, for speedrunning, like, how do you decide if you want to do like I don't know what it would be called, but like clean runs versus like glitch runs and things? Because there's it seems to me that there's like a range on that. But like for instance, I was watching some Breath of the Wild speedruns like a month ago, and the guy did something called like shield clipping to go through the side of a temple to save seconds so that he wouldn't have to activate the shrine or whatever. And I'm like,
Mm.
this is insanity. And then of course you can find the other ones where people will actually just enter. And I'm like, okay, that's the game I know and play. It's like this other one is just I don't. How do you decide which one to approach? Because it seems almost like there's some art to it where you get to decide your own way, but yeah, how do you do that?
It depends on the community and the game, of course. Like what they decide is kosher or not, and you can split it up where everything's allowed, and then there's a one way where glitches are generally not allowed, and one of them can be more popular in some games, one of them can be more popular in other games. I think A Link to the Past is a good example, because if you allow every glitch, they beat the game in like 2 minutes. Yeah, but it's not popular at all. Like it's almost a joke run because there's nothing to it. You just like go through the wall and then you go to the cutscene at the end and it's over.
Yeah,
So
like Pokemon Red is like that
so
as well.
stupid.
Yeah, Super Metroid's sort of similar. Like if you allow all the glitches, you can get done in 12 minutes. But it's just not as popular because it's short.
Anybody can do that.
It's not. It's sort of. I don't know. It's more just exploiting the programming instead of like actually playing the game well in some ways. But it depends. Like you look at like old school Mega Man games, and the ones where you zip through like parts of the level or go out of bounds and skip pieces of the level. Those are the most popular and most competitive runs of that game. So it just depends, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. You sort of the community decides what feels dirty and what feels clean.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this is a fair bug to abuse or glitch to abuse. I don't want to do this annoying thing. I'll just use this glitch to skip that. Or if something completely defeats the point of the game, you're just like, I mean, I don't want to even run this. It's not fun. I'll do something that's fun and enjoyable.
It can be kind of arbitrary at some point. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. It
like
seems quite arbitrary, but I get it.
Yeah,
it's like,
I like
what's fun?
Pokemon example, Pokemon Red or whatever, where there's like a warp run, so you can beat the game in like a minute or something like this. But that's the most boring run ever, right? Like anybody can do that. It's cool to see, so there's a category for it. But you run the longer version, it's much more enjoyable seeing actual interaction with the game. That's what you want to do, right? You want to interact with the game, and slight cut downs is good. Yeah.
I can see a parallel with StarCraft 1 in this too, because you look at something like muta clumping is allowed, but then that stuff where you can clump isn't there a bug that's where you clump workers, and so you wouldn't want people to sending their workers in competitive play towards each other immediately in every game. Like you gotta I can see a parallel there with that. That's almost arbitrary what's allowed glitch wise or not in that game, But
there are a few banned glitches in StarCraft 1 that you actually can do within the game. So, but yeah, and then you, like you said, the muta stacking, it's like, well, without that, the game is actually sucky. It's like you have to be able to do that.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. It's almost like the fans, the interaction, like you said, Probe, where it's like they want to see you play the game and you can use bugs and stuff, but like, don't make it stupid. The fact that you can beat Zelda in 2 minutes by walking into the credits scene or something. That's like a fun like video to post on Twitter, right? No one wants that. No one's going to sit down and watch you do that and get it down to 1 minute 58 seconds. It's like it's so stupid.
I will say a interesting counter argument to that is Super Mario 64, where the 0 and 1 star runs, which that entire thing is like a buggy mess. Every single time that Mario moves, it is just insane, because I don't think he's ever gone forward in his entire life. But, so, and those are very, very popular. If you look on speedrun.com, there's like hundreds and hundreds of submitted runs of people getting increments of a second off of it. So I think part of it is not necessarily how dumb it is, but how skill intensive it is, if that makes sense. So if you can do something dumb, but it requires you to be really, really good and precise, then there's more of a niche for it, because there's always going to be a group of people who are really interested in perfecting that high level, high precision trick. But if it's like the Pokemon one, I believe the Pokemon one is you just memorize a set of inputs to walk around the main town, and then you walk into your rival's door, and then you're done. And it's like, well, that's just literally just pressing buttons in an order, which is not, I mean, it's the same exact thing as high precision tricks if you want to be really pedantic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. How do people even find these glitches, by the way?
Accident on purpose.
Dark web.
Yeah, all kinds of ways. Yeah, some people stumble into them, and some people like actually really dissect it. People that are like programmers and stuff. It depends.
Have you ever found some crazy glitch like within Metroid or anything like that?
I've found a couple of warps. They were using a so you're not supposed to be able to equip all your beams at once. There's one that like switches between two beams, and if you equip all of them at the same time, you can do some things where you can break the game pretty bad. And I found some warps with that exploit that were actually used in one of like the task runs, which is the tool assisted speedrun. Yeah, I found some stuff, but most of my strategies have been like Super Metroid's more geared towards the non-glitchy side for the most part. I found some ways to do some glitches, but you know.
How did you find those? I'm kind of interested in this because it doesn't. Some of the glitches that I've seen, like I saw some stupid Mario Kart glitch where I don't even know what the hell they shot a shell or something, then shot way off the screen and everything was black, and then they came back and won, and I was like, how does someone find this? Like, what are you doing with your controller that you can find something like this?
Okay, so with Super Metroid, when you shoot that glitch beam, it automatically creates out of bound blocks. You can't see it with the camera, but the game is actually, it's not what it seems. And there's like door transitions that appear and it shuffles blocks around. So you can load it up in emulator and use what's it called, a sort of a viewer to see like what's going on with the game. It like puts a layer that shows you what every block is. So even though the camera doesn't show you can see it, then you can like you can experiment that way and then say, oh, I want to hit this block to trigger go into the next door, and you can try to find a way to get over there, or you know, just keep experimenting that way.
Okay.
But
So
for
you
that example,
kinda-
that's how I did that.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you do something, Grant, like the deathless runs, that's not like technically a speed run, right? Is that just something that you come up with that you're like, oh, this is an interesting idea to do it with?
So I live a life that is very much so at the whim of my stream chat.
Okay.
So especially
That's no way to live, Grant. You gotta fight
I actually
back.
have a really cool stream chat for the most part. I've been very
Oh.
blessed, but I was like a 5-person streamer back at the time, and we were just kind of messing around and talking about stuff. And someone's like, I wonder if you can beat this mission without losing unit. And I was like, I'm bored. Why not? Let's try. And then I did it, and they were like, well, let's try beating the whole thing. And we did. So I don't think it's a category, but I think it should be, because then I, by default, have the world record.
ZPR did a run in the Deathless one or the no units one. I can't remember which one he did it in, but it might have been the no units one. And he
did no
has
units.
The world record. Yeah, he has the world record there. It's like 3 hours or something.
I think I technically have the world record for playing all the campaigns at once at the same time. I did that a couple weeks ago.
What?
I figured out how to open multiple instances of StarCraft 2 at the same time. So about 3 weeks ago, I did a stream where I played through Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, and Legacy of the Void at the same time. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
That sounds insane.
It was actually really fun. It was 6 hours nonstop of playing.
6 hours? You might as well just run them back to back then.
Well, I also did the prologue and epilogue.
Oh, okay, that's fine then, yeah.
It was 5 hours without those.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh my god. That's like... So are you like alt-tabbing between 3 monitors or within the 3 games, or...?
So there's a problem with StarCraft in that you can't actually make the window below a certain size, and if you have a 1920 by 1080 monitor, it is more than half the size of a screen. So I had on my main monitor them kind of overlapping each other in windowed mode. Then on my second monitor, I had a third game and all my stream stuff at the same time and a lot of neck pain.
Yeah. Okay. That's wild. I don't know how you guys come up with this stuff.
I said I managed to open it, and then someone in my stream chat was like, "You should do this." So I said it as a sub goal.
See, the way I did that recently as well, where I played 2 games of StarCraft Ladder at the same time. But
You played 2 games of StarCraft Ladder at the same time?
yes.
Were you playing yourself? Are you an abuser? What's going on?
No. I hit like 5.5k Terrans, one on NA, one on Korea. And I got crushed. It was not easy. It's honestly so tough. But the way I had to do it was this program like Mouse Without Borders or something like this, which is a great pun. But it allows you to connect your mouse and keyboard to 4 different PCs on a network. So I plugged my laptop in to my second monitor, and I could just use my mouse and scroll over. And it was like really, really easy and really cool. And I was going back and forth and playing. So tough.
That would be tough.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on like different maps and stuff, like 2 different matchups.
It was both Protoss vs Terran, luckily, but it was Death Aura and Eternal Empire, and it was not easy.
No. Oh my god.
So then I just went into a 2v2 with myself on as both people.
How'd that go?
I won that one. I cannon rushed and proxy gated at the same time.
The Haas special.
Yeah.
Well, can't you just give control of everything in 2 vs 2 to yourself so you could actually do it all in one screen?
But then money is awkward, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So 1 cannon rushes, 1 proxy 4 gates. You've got best of both worlds.
All right. These are some very weird things you guys have come up with. What is like the future for each of you guys within speedrunning? Like, do you, for instance, Zosi, do you just keep working down Super Metroid times? Are there other games that you're interested in doing or that you're looking at? Like, oh, maybe I'll give this a try.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from Super Metroid because I'm so well known for it, and and it's sort of like the time, like the sunk cost sort of thing, where I've spent so much time getting good at it that I want to like max out what I can accomplish with it. I'm considering doing other games, and I like doing music myself, so
cool.
I kind of want to do more of that in the future. But for gaming, yeah. I'll probably be doing Super Metroid for a while still, but after that, I'm really not sure. I kind of have to take it one step at a time sometimes, focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah, makes sense. What about you, Grant? Like, do you have other goals? Well, it sounds like you're kind of rotating through different weird ways to beat the campaigns, but like, is there a certain goal? Are you looking at different games at all? What do you think?
So I've thought about different games. I like speedrunning. I think it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, I really, really like StarCraft. But I can't sit on the StarCraft campaign forever, which is kind of a problem I'm having right now. You see why people that stream ladder for the most part, because you can do that literally forever. But I feel like I offer something special right now. So I need to continue to figure out how I can provide something cool to the StarCraft community that is unique, but also doesn't suck.
That is important. Yeah. Well, okay. It's a little bit broad, but I'll let you have that one.
I will be doing StarCraft 1 speedrunning though.
Yeah, no, you should. That's cool.
On Friday, I'm going to get Heart of the Swarm back from Probe.
Oh,
good
nice.
I'll need it.
I kind of do want to try the some StarCraft 1 ones. I'm going to check that speedrun.com and see what those records look like if I can beat one. Because it's like, it's one of those things I feel like, well, it's like, yeah, I got the world record. And then you can just always be like, I mean, I'm a former world record holder. I don't really do it anymore. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, you're a gold medalist. The 1984 Olympics? Please, you're slow now. Right? I kind of just want that like in my back pocket. Like, yeah, no, I've held world records. It wasn't that hard. I mean, but I'm letting you guys in on my secret ultimate plan.
We're gonna slide in and get them before you get the records. You know?
Oh, leave one for me. Don't make me work hard for this. What about you, Pro? Where you, because I mean, you kind of have like your pro gaming career. It feels like you haven't been competing as much. When I read This Week in StarCraft and stuff, I see a lot of names.
I mean, I did win the last Oceania qualifier, so
yeah, just showing up when it's the most important stuff, I guess.
When it's important. But what, my region is next week, so that's what my practice time is going into. I'm not doing any speedrunning at the moment. And then I'm also doing like YouTube stuff, so like challenge videos and whatnot. So like 2 games at once. I did play StarCraft while blindfolded. That was a fun one.
How did that go?
Watch the video. There we go. That's good.
Damn, you're gonna get one more view because of that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like doing all that stuff. So speedrunning is sort of this thing I do like on the side, kind of. But
do you have any goals or anything? Like if Grant takes your Heart of the Swarm one this Friday, are you gonna fight back for it?
Eventually, yeah. No, the first thing is to get Legacy of the Void, which honestly, the run for Legacy of the Void is so well refined and so tough that I don't know how long that's going to take me. But in December, I'll have time because I have like exams next month and pro gaming and all this kind of stuff. So I'll get to that in probably December, and then I'll go back, get the Wings of Liberty one, get the Heart of the Swarm one. Then I'll do them all, and I'll be cool and I'll be chilling. So that's the plan.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I actually have a really bad secret about why I went to Nova Covert Ops for my world record. It's because I knew you would take them in order, and I did Legacy of the Void, and I was like, oh, he's going to take forever on this one. So I can actually keep my world record for more than 2 days this time.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. Oh, God. It's someone in the chat saying, do Grey Goo any %? I would never finish that game in any timeline of the universe. Okay. I mean, I don't really have any other questions about this. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring up about speedrunning before we do Patreon questions?
I'm good.
I feel like I had something, but it's gone. Yeah.
That's all right. If it comes up, you can let it in.
If you like playing StarCraft, but you get ladder anxiety, a really good way to practice is speedrunning, because you get to keep it to yourself. You get to, if you are the type of person that likes to ladder, but gets frustrated because they play a PvT and then they have a strategy and then they don't play another PvT 15 games in a row and that pisses you off, speedrunning's really good for you. There's a whole lot of things that you can continually improve your other gameplay with while speedrunning, and it's a lot less stressful. So it's definitely worth giving a shot in that sort of way. I know a lot of people suffer with ladder anxiety and that kind of stuff, and this could be a good outlet for that.
It actually, and talking with you guys about it here today and just kind of thinking about it, like I mentioned before, it really seems like there's a lot that StarCraft players can learn from the speedrunning community. Like you said, practicing something, keeping it to yourself. Because really, improvement in StarCraft, people think it's about beating people. It's about getting better yourself. The actual outcome of a given game doesn't actually matter. If someone beats you, it's like, whatever. It's like, yeah, you're never going to beat Maru. Like, you're not going to beat Maru. It's okay. But if you're improving, that's where the victory is, which is kind of like, I always see when I tune into a speedrun thing, it's like, are you going for a PR? Or are you going for WR, right? Personal record versus world record. And it's like, just to improve your personal record you have to improve your personal record before you can even challenge a world record, right? So it makes sense. It's definitely something I think people can learn from really a lot. Like, it really, I'm not just saying this because we're on the Pylon Show and I have you guys here, but it really gets me thinking about like trying to get these deliberate practice type things and measuring against yourself, because that's how you get good, right?
Yeah.
That being said, do you use anything Probe as a pro gamer that you learned from
I've actually
speedrunning?
become worse at pro gaming because I started using the F2 key in my speedruns. And so now I can't shake the habit. It's actually so bad. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, but to be fair, there's a lot of top pro gamers that still use F2. It disgusts me, but it's a real thing.
Well, I don't like using it, so there we go.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I've hurt myself for the speedrunning glory.
All right. Well, it is glory. Okay. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm actually really kind of interested in this now. Maybe I'll, not in StarCraft 2, I'm not going to challenge you guys, but the Brood War.
Actually, I would just say there is individual missions you can do. Like, you don't have to do the entire campaign. You can just have the speedrun for an individual mission.
Yeah.
There's leaderboards for that as well. So, you can take a 5-minute long mission and just practice the hell out of that and get the world record for that.
Sounds like a good
Especially
idea.
any of the like lesser run campaigns, you can easily get a record there in StarCraft.
Sick.
And then I'll steal it and implement it.
That's fine, man. As long as I have it, even for a second, that's a big moment. All right. That was a great conversation. I think we'll probably jump into the Patreon questions now. Guys, make sure that you drop in some Patreon questions for these guys, because, yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask their questions ahead of time, but these are some people that you can, I don't know, ask your questions about that, and check out patreon.com/ThePylonShow and drop your question there. They're still open for a couple more minutes here. But let's jump into it.